Hello, it is I, wearing the exact same stuff as I did in my last video. I went ahead and overspent on yet another thing, and this time it was Daniel Smith watercolors. I bought this because it comes with like the basics, so like a cool and a warm yellow, a red, and blue. So I was like, I need this to learn color theory. It's like I can't use my 20 billion palettes now, duh. But the fun part is that it came with something I have never ever heard of before, and that is watercolor ground. And it was like a personal challenge, because like, how can I have not heard of something watercolor related at this point? So I had to get it. So apparently it's like this plaster thing. Ew, look at that. And you can paint it on any surface, really, and let it dry, and then you can use watercolors on top. What? So I figured I need to try it. I'm gonna do it on this sketchbook. I've decided. This is my like predominantly watercolor and gouache sketchbook, and honestly it's kind of falling apart. If you see here, I've had to tape the seams. It's really annoying. Here, I'll show you. See, I've had to tape a lot of the seams because it's literally falling apart. I'm really mad about it. It's the Strathmore one, and I can't believe that it is. But since it's falling apart anyways, I'm just gonna try it on here. High risk, but hopefully high reward. And I'm gonna do the edges because I want to have a crisp watercolor like border, which of course I will probably mess up because of who I am as a person. Is that even? Sure. Apparently, it's recommended that you wet the surface a little bit. So I'm just gonna give it a few sprays. I think this thing can probably handle that just fine, right? Okay, this is a waste of my time. Let's use a different brush. In the very back here, it says that it can be diluted up to 10% with water. So, okay, this is, I think it's like the slightest bit damp. So I think that should work. I'm just gonna open this thing up and I'm just gonna go to town. Oh, it's thick. Come on now. Ooh. I don't want to overdo it, but I don't want to underdo it, you know? Oh, wow. Okay. Okay. It's like, yeah, it's very plastery. Ew. Smells like exactly like plaster. Like think about doing home reno. That's exactly what your room would smell like if you were like plastering it and painting on it. I'm doing a very thin layer so far. I've watched exactly one single video of someone using this, and I think the fact that you can see brush marks is like a meh for a lot of people, so people are discussing how to smooth it out. I honestly could not care less. I think it just adds charm and bullshittery to it if it's like, oh, paint strokey and stuff. So obviously like the stuff is peeking through. I don't know if I should let it dry and then come back to it and like do another layer, but it says it takes up to 24 hours to dry, which is why I'm filming this right now. It does say that if you're putting it on something that's not absorbent, like a surface, that you should probably like sand it out and like make a little bit of an abrasion. But this thing is like got like a little bit of like a pattern to it, you know, so I figured that's probably okay. Okay, I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit and see if I can paint another layer on top so that the streakiness isn't in there. Okay, so I've done some deep thinking, some deep soul searching, and I think I kind of like the streakiness in the background. And by that I mean I'm just really fucking impatient, so I'm removing the tape immediately. And of course the tape didn't actually do a very good job. No one is surprised there, but whatever. I guess the edges are clean enough. I normally always reuse tapes, but I can't do this one because it's filled with plaster. Yeah, I really hope that it's a thick enough layer for me to actually paint on, so you know, either this will turn out good or this will be an infomercial as to what to not do. This is always satisfying. Ooh. Maybe I can clean up the edges a little bit, but maybe I should just leave them as is. It kind of looks a little feathered, you know? Fun. All right, I'm pleasantly surprised with how straight this ended up being, considering I measured nothing. Okay, so now we let this dry, this beauty dry for at least a day. Now I should probably talk about the watercolors because they are super cool. I will do a full-on video in the future after I learn how to actually properly use them to do what I wanted to do when I bought them, which is learn color theory. But I will use them for this painting, and I have already swatched them in this thing. Let's see if I can maybe not ruin it. These are the swatches. They're really pretty, really pigmented. I'd say that they're pretty accurate on camera, but this yellow is a lot more bright in person, I think. I actually did a comparison between the White Nights and the Cotman Winsor & Newton ones, and as you can see, the colors are all fabulous in every single one of them. I just like how the Daniel Smith one, especially like the ultramarine, it's a lot more granulated, and doing things like this comparisons really helps you like realize what the minute differences are. So like my White Nights are a lot more opaque than the rest of them. I'd say these ones lay on the paper the best. These have a little bit more like filler, and you can kind of tell there's like a ring around them that isn't really watercolor, you know? And I'm excited to play around with these more in the future. I even bought a special little plate to use. I went to the thrift store and I found this plate because I don't have any like ceramics to use for my watercolors, so I bought this, and the plan was to like have it so that I could like color wheel it, but I got a little bit confused. But the education is happening. I'm gonna get there. So hello, I'm back a day later. It's been about 24 hours, and I think I probably should have let it dry longer, but I did a really thin layer and I don't want to wait anymore. So this thing is really potent. Like, it's not super stinky to use, but letting it dry in my room, it made my whole entire room smell like plaster doo-doo all night. But anyways, I'm probably going to do a little landscape with just mountains. I've mixed a warm red with the cool blue to get this kind of like indigo-ish color, and now I'm just gonna put like a really light amount of it down for the sky, and it's got like a little bit more of the red in there. So far that did nothing. I guess the sky will just be white because I don't know what it is that I'm doing, but let's go with a little bit of a lighter hand, and we'll do the first mountain. Ooh, so like the paint definitely spreads. I wanted this one to be less defined, so that works. Add a little bit more to the bottom, some undefined shapes right here, and then we're just gonna even out this thing. Okay, can you tell that's a mountain? No. You can't. That's alright. Is this part wet or dry? I kind of regret wetting this whole page like that. Okay. I'm gonna go in and have it be a bit darker. Wow. I think that I should mention this should definitely be a reflection on my skill, more so than the water ground itself, but so far it's working like really nicely. The water is flowing, things are looking okay. Obviously it doesn't feel quite like watercolor paper, but it's still like, you could do wet on wet, The water is flowing. It probably takes a lot longer to dry than like regular paper. Okay, well, we're gonna let it dry. Generally speaking, it was pretty finicky and definitely an adjustment. It's not watercolor paper, so obviously I needed to kind of play around with it. It takes water really well, which I kind of thought it would be the opposite. So I wasn't letting the mountains in the background dry, and I just kept like playing around with it and trying to add stuff to it to make them look a little less fuzzy and like kind of ugly. I also found the colors dry a lot lighter, so I kept like trying to put more on top to at least have some sort of depth. I actually quite like the way the mountains in the front turned out. The back ones, there wasn't really saving them. I might go in and like define the one in the back a little bit more later, but for now I'm just gonna leave it as is. I also went in and did like a dark sun or moon in red, and again I did it when it was wet, and that was an issue, but it's okay. I go back in later and add another red circle to hopefully make up for that. And I decided to go into some red trees as well. I don't really know if I like it or not, but I just felt like it needed something. And this is how it turned out. Quite fun, and it's not my best work, but it's pretty cool because it's watercolor and it's on the front of like a sketchbook, so that's awesome. If I get really close, you can see that it's like textured too and stuff. It was so fun. This is such a cool like product. I did not realize you could do that. And now I'm kind of like, what else can I draw on? Probably another sketchbook. It definitely kind of feels a little bit bare though down here. Feels like I might be missing something. If I had the balls, I would draw like something circular, like maybe like a bridge with like a tiny little person walking on it or something. I don't really know, but I'm just gonna leave it as is for now because the risk is high at this point to mess it up. The paints themselves, I ended up having some fun mixing colors, so I feel like I'm on the way to learning. Like I figured out to get an indigo I needed to mix the warm red and the cool blue, which is pretty sick. The only hard part was like getting enough of a dark thing, like you constantly had to mix more. Ooh, it was so fun, and I really like color mixing on ceramic. I totally get why people do that. This has been an exploration into watercolor ground. If you don't hear from me, it's because I'm busy painting the ground on top of like everything. Just kidding, you'll see me tomorrow with another video because I'm posting a video this week. Give a like if you want to send me good luck because all I'm doing is editing these days. And yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye.